Hi there, and welcome to The Daily Gardener, a podcast about gardening, botanical history, and literature. I'm your host, Jennifer Ebling, and today is May 4th, and there are just 47 days until the first day of summer. Today we celebrate the first woman to receive a Bachelor of Science in Forestry. We'll also remember the Academy Award-winning actress who narrated a 1990s PBS series called Gardens of the World. We'll hear a sweet little garden poem that celebrates spring today, and we grow that garden library with a fantastic book about gardening in the shade and the best plants to grow for your shady garden. And then we'll wrap things up with an excerpt about this day 142 years ago, written by the garden writer Henry Arthur Bright. But first, here's today's curated news. Today's curated news comes to us from The Spruce. It was written by Sienna Heath, and the title is How to Grow Crown Imperial Plants. Now, I specifically looked this article up for you. I was looking for a general article about growing the Crown Imperial, and the reason I did that is because I was dropping my daughter off at college the other day. She goes to a college in St. Paul, and along this very busy street was a garden that was about 3 feet up from the sidewalk. There was a retaining wall there. And what do I see in this hot mess of a garden but a lone Crown Imperial blooming, no less, in late April? And I just had to chuckle because there it was, all by itself, this magnificent plant next to this very busy street, and I doubt anyone noticed that it was there. But I did, and I just wanted to point out this particular plant to you. If you're looking for something that's pretty impressive to grow in the garden, consider adding a Crown Imperial. Now, this is a perennial bulb. It doesn't necessarily grow everywhere, so you'll need to see if it will grow in your area. The hardiness zones are zones 5 through 9, which also is another indication of this microclimate effect that can happen in urban areas, because technically Minneapolis-St. Paul is a zone 4, and yet here is this Crown Imperial that was clearly blooming in St. Paul just 10 days ago. So there you go. The effect of the heat island at work, making it possible for this Crown Imperial to grow in St. Paul. Pretty spectacular. Now, what else can I tell you about this Crown Imperial? Well, first of all, it's a hot colored flower. So the flower is a red-orange. It's tall. It can grow from 1 to 3 feet tall. I would say the one that I saw was about 2 feet tall. Now, a great thing about this particular bulb is that it's deer resistant. And if it's deer resistant, it's probably pest resistant in general, because if the deer don't like something, that's a good indicator that the rabbits will leave it alone as well. Now, one of the reasons that happens is because this flower has a musky, almost skunk-like scent. And so here you have this gorgeous bloom, and yet the fragrance does not match the bloom, which is sometimes the case. Think of the Titan Arum, right? Now, like most spring flowering bulbs, the Crown Imperial wants to be planted in full sun. And if you have bulbs that underperformed this year, ask yourself whether or not they're truly in full sun, because most of them will do so much better if they're in a truly sunny spot. So don't be afraid to dig them up and put them in the spot where they belong once they're done blooming or not blooming this spring. All right. Now, if you would like to read this article for yourself on how to grow crown imperial plants over at the Spruce, just head on over to the Facebook group for the show. Right at the top underneath the header, you'll see a magnifying glass, and you can type in the word crown, and then this post will pop up. Now, if you're not in the Facebook group, come on over and join us. It's totally free. You have a standing invitation. You can join at any time. All you need to do is search for the words Daily Gardener Community, where you'd search for a friend, and then request to join. I'd love to meet you in the group. And I have to ask, if you're a longtime listener of the show, don't you almost say that part with me every episode? I feel like you might be doing that. If you are, maybe drop me a line and let me know. Maybe we're saying it together. All right, it's time for today's botanical history. Here's botanical history for today, May 4th. Today is the birthday of the New Zealand forester and botanist Mary Sutherland, who was born on this day, May 4th, in 1893. In 1916, Mary graduated from Bangor University in Wales with a Bachelor of Science degree in forestry, and she was the very first female to become a degreed forestry professional in the world. Mary also became known in New Zealand as the first female forester when she was hired in 1923. It was a position that she held for 12 years. And today, in one of the forests that she called her office, there's a memorial redwood designated with a plaque to honor Mary Sutherland. By the 1930s, Mary was working as a botanist for the Forest Service, and she was a pretty talented artist as well. Her drawing of a sprig from the rimu tree, it was bearing ripe fruit, became the official seal of the Forestry Service. Today, more women than ever are entering the world of forestry, and the Mary Sutherland Award is given to the top female forestry student in their final year of schooling. And today is the birthday of the Academy Award-winning actress and gardener Audrey Hepburn, who was born on this day, May 4th, in 1929. The Breakfast at Tiffany's star appeared with Penelope Hobhouse and Graham Stewart Thomas in the 1991 PBS special Gardens of the World. The series featured 60 gardens over 8 episodes, and they included Monet's garden at Giverny, the Villa Gambaraia in Florence, Italy, the Old Rose Garden at Graham Stewart Thomas's garden at Montesfont Abbey, the Roseraie du Lailly in the south of Paris, Saihoji, the famed Moss Temple garden in Kyoto, that was Steve Jobs' favorite garden, and Hidcote Manor in Gloucestershire, England. Additionally, Audrey wrote the foreword to a companion coffee table book that was also called Gardens of the World. It was written by Penelope Hobhouse and Elvin McDonald, the volunteer director of special projects for the Brooklyn Botanic Garden. Audrey wrote in the foreword, "We all have within us a need to create beauty, and we all can in a garden, however small." Perhaps if we now take a closer look at our gardens, we will at last awaken to the fragility of our beautiful planet and better understand our lovely Earth. In 1991, the Spring Hill Nursery in Peoria, Illinois, created a rose variety named for Audrey Hepburn. The Audrey Hepburn rose was marketed as an exceptionally vigorous rose with highly fragrant 4-inch apple blossom pink flowers. It was featured on display at the Brooklyn Botanical Gardens and was available for mail order purchase exclusively through Spring Hill Nurseries. And here's a little-known fact about Audrey Hepburn. One of the most beloved quotes about gardening is attributed to her. It would have been her 92nd birthday today. Audrey once wrote, "To plant a garden is to believe in tomorrow." It's time for today's Unearthed Words. Today's Unearthed Words come to us from Walter de la Mare, the English poet, short story writer, and novelist. This is a poem from his work called Peacock Pie. A poor old widow in her weeds sowed her garden with wildflower seeds, not too shallow and not too deep. And down came April, drip, drip, drip. Up shone May like gold, and soon, green as an arbor, grew leafy June. And now all summer she sits and sows, where willow herb, comfrey, and bugloss blows. Teasel and pansy, meadow sweet, campion, toadflax, and rough hawkspit. Brown bee orchis, and peals of bells, clover, burnet, and thyme she smells. Weeps she never, but sometimes sighs, and peeps at her garden with bright brown eyes. And all she has is all she needs, a poor old widow in her weeds. It's time to grow that garden library with today's book, Making the Most of Shade by Larry Hodgson. This book came out in 2005, and the subtitle is How to Plan, Plant, and Grow a Fabulous Garden That Lights Up the Shadows. In this book, Larry features nearly 300 perennials, annuals, bulbs, ferns, ornamental grasses, and climbing plants that thrive in the shade. Shaded gardens are cool places that offer tranquility and a space for contemplation. Larry shares how to create a sense of lushness and vibrancy in areas with little or no sun. The first half of the book covers how to plan, plant, and grow in the shade. And then the back half of the book offers an encyclopedia of the best plants to grow in the shade. This book is 416 pages. It's a whopper of shade garden mastery, from design and care to top plant profiles. You can get a copy of Making the Most of Shade by Larry Hodgson and support the show using the Amazon link in today's show notes for around $11. Finally, here's something sweet to revive the little botanic spark in your heart. It was on this day, May 4th, in 1879, that Henry Arthur Bright recorded what happened in his garden in his book, A Year in a Lancashire Garden. Henry wrote, "May set in this year with, as Horace Walpole somewhere says, its usual severity. We felt it all the more after the soft, warm summer weather we had experienced in April. The lilac, which is only due with us on the 1st of May, was this year in flower on the 28th of April. Green gooseberry tarts, which farther south are considered a May Day dish, we hardly hope to see in this colder latitude for 10 days later. And now these cold east winds will throw back everything. No season is like lilac tide, as it has been quaintly called in this respect. Besides the lilac itself, there are long plumes of the white broom, the brilliant scarlet of the hybrid rhododendrons, the delicious blossoms, both pink and yellow, of the azaleas, the golden showers of the laburnum, and others too numerous to mention. A Judas tree at an angle of the house is in bud. The General Jacqueminot between the vineries has given us a rose already. The foliage of the large forest trees is particularly fine this year. The horse chestnuts were the first in leaf, and each branch is now holding up its light of waxen blossom. The elms came next, the limes, the beeches, and then the oaks. Yet still, quote, the tender ash delays to clothe herself when all the woods are green, unquote, and is all bare as in midwinter. This, however, if the adage about the oak and the ash be true, should be prophetic of a fine, hot summer. Thanks for listening to The Daily Gardener, and remember, for a happy, healthy life, garden every day. The Daily Gardener is produced in lovely Maple Grove and Wyoming, Minnesota. If you want to read today's show notes, just head on over to thedailygardener.org. And while you're there, be sure to sign up for my free Friday newsletter. And don't forget that you have a standing invitation to join the free Facebook group for listeners of the show. Just search for Daily Gardener Community the next time you're on Facebook and request to join. Last but not least, you can always get in touch by emailing me at jennifer@thedailygardener.org. I'm your host, Jennifer Ebling, and as always, have a great day in the garden, and we'll see you tomorrow.